During our investigation of the situation in Blue Nile, one of the main theaters in Sudan's current civil war, we experienced the primary tactic used by the Sudanese government. A terror campaign employing Antonov bombers conducting frequent attacks. Even the mere overflight of an Antonov sends people running to hide in fear.
من نجري في الحفرة وكان فات نجي مارقين نقول رجع تاني نجري نخلي الأجين في الوطن تاني نجري في الحفرة أنت عارف أنا جاي هنا خايفين في الحفرة تاني جاي هنا يجي تجري لوين.
During our time in Blue Nile, we witnessed the frequency of air attacks described by refugees. The consistent bombing of Yabus town was evidence of the government's use of indiscriminate weapons on civilian areas, a direct violation of international humanitarian law. Go down, brother.
Alright, so the Antonovs just passed directly overhead, and you can see the explosions just not too far in the distance there from dropping the bombs directly overhead of us.
We rushed with our guide to survey the aftermath of the attack. It was clear that the major damage was caused by the shrapnel and potentially toxic dust that emanates from the explosions.
They're stuffing these bombs with what is essentially a cannonball, large ball bearing, which then, when explodes, turns into small molten pieces. In most cases, sometimes it even stays big like this and flies across and causes huge damage. Large holes like you see in the building and the roofs.
This young man was injured in a previous attack.
ولا زال لأسا بهذا أوكي في الفهم نجري فور نمشي محل نبتسم منه أنه السنة بعد بعد ما بقدر تاني عشان أرجع.
Faced with such dangers, hundreds of thousands of Sudanese are risking their lives to flee across the border into South Sudan. Humanitarians struggling to assist these refugees told us the situation is dire. More than 100,000 people now reside in the camps around the town of Bunj, where before there were only approximately 10,000 people living. The scale of the crisis is evident from the air. As we flew into the area, our pilots pointed out the densely packed white dots below, the edge of the refugee camps now encircling the town of Bunj. The camps seem to go on forever. While in the refugee camps, news arrived about recent incidents inside Blue Nile. So we ventured in to investigate. After a convoluted route maneuvering through various rebel pathways, in order to avoid Sudanese government forces, we encountered 2 trailer loads of refugees and many accompanying on foot. They were attempting to escape the government-controlled areas, the majority of them women, children, and the elderly.
Here we are about 20 kilometers inside the Sudan border, where we've encountered 2 truckloads of refugees who are escaping fighting in the Ngesena Hills.
The refugees were the front end of a group reportedly much larger. The people recounted a harrowing story: little water, no food or medicine, and Sudanese government forces attacking them to stop them from fleeing. Here in the middle of the road, this group faces a stark choice: remain at home under terrifying routine aerial bombardment and brutal counterinsurgency tactics, or flee to the safety of camps in neighboring countries enduring miserable living conditions with limited humanitarian assistance. To learn more about the political and military situation, we traveled to an SPLA North Forward Operating Base, short distance from government positions.
لأنه حقنا طالبنا في الترابيزة زي ما أنت قاعد قدامي ده، طالبنا في الترابيزة بطريقة كويس وما دارين بلولو. الليلة بهنا تعالوا بجاي الليلة تعال نقعدوا الليلة تعال نديكم حقكم الليلة ما في قلنا بدل زي ده خير الشغل ده تاني كده نشوف نولوه من جديد عشان أي زول شنو يطلع حقوقه وفعلا هم بدوا الشكلة لما بدوا الشكلة في الدمازين احنا دقيناهم.
Antonov comes throughout. Even now you are lucky there's no Antonov. Sometimes you stay like 5 minutes, the Antonov is come, bomb everybody everywhere. There's no choice whether you are civilians or you are military, they just bomb. And you see this mountain, all these mountains are burned off by the Antonov. The amount of the medicine that we have, we divide them. We give some medicine to the civilians and the rest we use them for our guys. We don't say this is civilian people and this is the military. No, human being are human being, we treat them the same. Yeah.
The SPLA North claims they are primarily supplied by capturing weapons from their enemies. We were taken to see an arms cache of weapons the SPLA North said they had captured from the Sudanese military, largely of Chinese, former Soviet, and even Iranian origins. This arms cache was a poignant reminder of the international element of the conflict, showing who is supporting the government of Sudan, likely in contravention of various arms embargoes. Early in 2013, the government began ground attacks more frequently.
We've come to the village, or what's left of the village of Mufu, where earlier this month the SAF and government forces began changing their tactics as the dry season approached. They came to the village, occupied it, burned almost all of the tukals. Well, in fact, actually we can't see any intact tukals in the area.
جو بالعربات شايلين مدافع بدون شيلين وجو هجموا طوالي تموتوا وضربوا الناس بالمدفعة.
Fleeing attacks, people of Mufu felt their chances of survival were best hiding in the forest. Many remained near the gold mines in the area attempting to earn a living, despite the situation. For many, resources like the gold are one of the reasons behind the current war.
They don't want us to benefit from these resources. That is why they are bombing the people, casing the people out from the villages, so that they will not benefit from that.
أنا عمر بصير إندا بوديسو إندا بوديسال كابا وطاير أنا نقول نكيك بلا ولا فجأة الماونا كله فوري داغوتين كيك ما كامتها ولا أدين أنا بودك سال كابا أنا يبيل ماونا وفجوا يجن كت يبونان نكبيانان.
After returning to the refugee camps, we heard many more accounts confirming the increased frequency of ground attacks in recent months. من وقتو كتانا كقولة كقولة كأنجا سمعا سبينه أنلاقا دموني ك وجدت كين جن كأمبتولين واتيانا غريه كتاتير أنا دانا جانا ويكتاتير وان ويكتادانا يا ولا حد أركوبن بادي حركة كماج كداغن مرغولي جاكزات وانا كا تلقى حركة التير يا دل مسكين إيجي دانا نكنا داجي.
The situation in Blue Nile, just as in many areas in Sudan, is governance through cruelty and terror. It's a simple politics. Power and greed drive government at the cost of people who suffer in obscurity. This crisis possesses the potential for even larger refugee and displaced populations, and is, quite simply, desperate.